All right, shalom, shalom, Israel. First off, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Kakadash. That's all honor and glory to the Most High God through His Son, who the world didn't really call Christ. Right? I want to give a hearty shalom to the sincere Akwat and Akim out there that's making their body a living sacrifice, doing everything they can to endure for the elect's sake, man. I want to give a double honors to elect elders pushing this word of sincerity and faith for many years, man. Right? So I just want to do a lesson today, a breakdown on the book of Revelation, chapter 12, right? Lord willing, Lord willing power, we're able to break down this chapter and somebody will be edified, man. Right? So let's get to it. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head 4 stars. Right? So it says there appeared a woman in heaven, man, clothed with the sun and the moon. Right? Is this a literal woman? No. Right? Let's get the precepts, man. The classic Jeremiah. In verse 2, I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. Right? So this woman in Revelation 12, chapter 1, this is the daughter of Zion. Right? And in some parts of it, it also represents Mary. Right? Let's get a precept. It's the book of Job, chapter 11. In verse 6, and that he should show thee the secrets of wisdom that are double to which is. Know therefore that Yahweh exacteth of thee less than thine iniquity deserves. But the point of the matter is that things in the scriptures are double that to that which is, which means twofold. And sometimes even threefolds, man. Right? So they can mean different things, right? And in the book of Revelation 12, it's likened unto Mary bringing in Christ, and it's also likened unto the end times with Israel, man. Right? Let's get back to it. So Jeremiah 6 and 2, once again, I have likened the daughter of a comely and delicate woman. Right? So Zion, Israel, is likened unto a comely and delicate woman, man. Right, let's get another precept. It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 10, and verse 44. This woman whom thou sawest is Zion, and whereas she said unto thee, even she whom thou seest is as a city building. So this woman that thou sawest, this woman is Zion, it's Israel, right? Because Israel is like unto that coming and delicate woman, man. Right, so this woman in heaven, right, is Israel, right? Let's get another precept. Chapter 54 and verse 5. For thy maker is thine husband, the Lord of Yahweh is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the power of the whole earth shall he be called. For the Lord hath called thee a woman shaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when thou was refused, said Yahweh. So Israel is likened unto a woman, likened unto the wife, right? So that woman is Israel. Let's get one more precept. Book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 11 and verse 2. For I am jealous over you with a godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to a Mashiach. Right? So what? If you've been espoused to you will be what, a wife, right? So Israel, who's espoused to Yahweh Shai, right, is that woman, man. So this woman that you see in the book of Revelation, let's go back to it. The book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman. So that woman is Israel, right? clothed with the sun and the moon. So is she literally clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet? Is that a literal thing? Is it literally, and she kind of in heaven and she got the moon under her feet? No, that's not what's going on, man. Right? The sun and the moon represent wisdom and understanding. Precept on that. All right, it's the book of Micah. It's the classic. It's the book of Micah, chapter 3 and verse 6. Therefore, night shall be unto you, that ye shall not have a vision, and it shall be dark unto you, that ye shall not divine, and the sun shall go down on the prophets, and the day shall to them. So if the sun is going down over the prophets, that's literally saying that the prophets won't have any knowledge. They won't have a vision. They won't have understanding, right? So that sun and that moon is a light, which represents wisdom and understanding, right? Let's get another precept. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 24 and verse 23. Then the moon shall be confounded and the sun ashamed when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and Jerusalem. So what, is the sun going to literally be confounded? Like, you kind of throw a precept out there. It's like you're Satan trying to take away the word. You kind of throw a precept out there and then the sun get confounded, right? Then the moon is shamed, kind of don't want to come out no more. No, it's talking about the wisdom and understanding, man, right? There will be none. They'll be confounded. They'll be ashamed, right? Let's get another precept. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 26. Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold as the light of 7 days. And in the day of Yahweh bindeth up the breach of his people and healeth the stroke of his wound. So in that day, they will have wisdom, man. Right? So that sun and that moon represent wisdom and understanding, man. Right? Because they're lights. And lights in the scriptures represent what? Wisdom and understanding, man. Right? See the precept, book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 16. And Yahweh made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light night. He made also the stars also. And Yahweh set them in the firmament of the heaven to light up upon the earth, man. So those two great lights, man. He made two great lights. And light in the scriptures is what? Wisdom and understanding, man. Right? The Proverbs. So the sun and the moon represent lights. Shalom, sister. The sun and the moon represent lights, right? And the light in the scriptures represent wisdom and understanding. That means this sun and the moon is representing wisdom and understanding, right? Book of Proverbs. It's a classic. Shalakia. The book of Proverbs, chapter 6 and verse 2. For the commandment is a lamp and the law a light, and the rules and instructions are the way of life, man. So the commandment is a lamp and the law is light, man. And we know that the law is what? Wisdom, man. Right? Let's get the precept. The book of Baruch. The book of Baruch, chapter 4, in verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of Yahweh and the law that endure forever. All that shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated. Shalakia. Come, walk in the presence thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated. Why? Because that light represents what? Wisdom and understanding. When you're illuminated, it says what? Wisdom maketh the man face to shine, man. Right? It's the book of John. It's the book of John, chapter 3, and verse 19. And this is the condemnation, that light is coming to the world, and the men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest their deeds be reproved. Why is that? Because that light is what? The commandments and the law of the Most High God. And the commandments of the law of the Most High God give you wisdom, man. So this light that's created, right? It was pure darkness on the earth. The Lord created the light, because out of darkness comes light. It's got to be darkness first, man. And then light is wisdom, right? That light is the commandments. The commandments and understanding is wisdom. Thus saith the Lord. Let's get a precept to prove that. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people, man. So what? So what? We established the sun and the moon, right, represent wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. On another fold of it, the sun and the moon are light. We not established that light represents wisdom and understanding via the law, right? So this moon, the sun and the moon in Revelation 12 being under the feet represent wisdom being in subjection to this woman, which we established as Israel, man, right? Let's go back to Revelation. It's the book of Revelation. Let's read again. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 1. There appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman, which we established as Israel, with the sun and the moon, which we established as wisdom and understanding, under her feet, and upon her head 12 crowns. So it's just under her feet, right? The sun and the moon are under her feet. Let's get a precept on that. It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse 22. We started 21. For above all principality and power and might and dominion, every name that is named, not only in this world, but also in that which is to come, and hath put all things under his feet, and gave him to be the head over all things to the church. So what? Things being under the feet mean what? That you are in control of it. It's under your power. So this woman in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, she has wisdom, knowledge, and understanding under her feet. She has complete control over her wisdom, man, right? And it says what? And upon her head, a crown of 12 stars. This is another way of proving that this woman is Israel, because those 12 stars represent Israel, man, right? Let's get a precept to prove that. It's the book of Genesis. Book of Genesis, chapter 37 and verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we are binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaf stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said unto him, shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And he hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and he told it his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon in this context represent his mother and his father, right? And The 11 stars made obedience to me. The 11 stars represented his brothers, which were the other tribes of Israel. And he was that 12th star, right? So those 12 stars represent Israel. It's the dream that he was talking about, what? That he was going to be able to save his brothers out of the captivity in Egypt, and they was going to have to bow down to him, man, right? And they did bow down to him in Egypt when he was second under Pharaoh, man, and they had to come get food during the famine, right? So these 12 stars represent Israel, man, right? Let's go back to it. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. So this woman is Israel. The sun and the moon represent what? Wisdom and understanding, right? Under her feet, which means she had complete control over the wisdom and understanding. And upon her head, a crown of 12 stars, which further represents the tribes of Israel, man, right? And she being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. That child is talking about Yahweh Shai, right? Like I said, on twofold, it's talking about Mary as well, man, right? And Mary was giving birth to Yahweh Shai, right? Verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. It says a great red dragon, man, right? So in the scriptures, the dragons, every time we're under captivity, the rulership, well, a lot of times we're under captivity, the rulership is what? Likened unto a dragon, man. And who are we under captivity to right now? We're under captivity to the so-called white man, right? So that great red dragon is representing Esau, right? Let's get a precept. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 29 and verse 3. Speak and say thus, said Yahweh power, behold, I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers, which has said, my river is mine own, and have made it for himself. Right? So what? The Pharaoh, who had us in captivity as well in Egypt, was likened to a dragon, right? Let's get another one. The book of Jeremiah. (51) and verse 34. And Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He had crushed me. He had made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me a dragon. He had filled his belly with it. He had cast me out. And Nebuchadnezzar was likened unto a dragon. We were under captivity under Pharaoh. We were under captivity under Nebuchadnezzar, man. Right? Another one. Lock you, man. Satan trying to take away the word, take away the lie. It's the book. It's the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms, chapter 91 and verse 13. Thou shalt tread upon the otter, the young lion and the dragon shall thou trample under feet, man. Right? The dragon, and the young lion and the dragon. The young lion is Esau. The dragon is Esau, right? Right now. In this context, right? So it's the book of Job, chapter 30 and verse 29. This is the one right here. I am a brother to dragons and a companion to owls, man. Job is an Israelite, man. And it says, I am a brother to dragons, right? So who's the brother of Esau? I mean, who's the brother of the Israelites, man? Esau, man. I am a brother to dragons, man. Right? That serpent. Esau is that serpent. Then it says red. Anytime I say the word red, you know it, man. Right? You know who's dealing with when it says the word is red. You know, it could have said the great black dragon, the great, any other color, man. Right? Because we know Esau is what? The damn red man, man. right? Get that. The book of Genesis, chapter 25, and verse 25. Came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, man. So what? That red dragon is Esau, man, the so-called white man, right? That's who the great red dragon is in the book. Let's get another one. Salakia. Salakia. I lost my precept. Look at Revelation 12, right? The book of Revelation, chapter 12, and verse 8. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. And we've established that the red dragon is Esau, so but having 7 heads, right? And 7 crowns upon his head, man, right? These 7 heads represent kingdoms, man, right? It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17. And verse 9. And here is the mind which has the wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space, man. Right? So it says what? And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. And we know that the mountains in the scriptures represent nations, man. So the 7 heads are 7 mountains, right? Let's prove that. The book of Micah, chapter 4 and verse 1. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Most High shall be established at the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it, and many nations shall come and say, Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of Yahweh, power of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and he will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. But the point of the matter is, mountains represent nations, right? And it said that these 7 heads are 7 mountains, meaning 7 nations, 7 kingdoms, whichever way you want to divide it up, man, right? And those 7 kingdoms, Salakia, those 7 kingdoms, in fact, I think I got one more precept on that. The book of Isaiah, chapter 2 and verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last day that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top, and shall be of the hills, and nations shall flow unto it, man. Right? So it's pretty much saying the same thing. Salakia. We're saying the same thing as what Michael was saying, man. Right? The book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, and verse swore it was in Jeremiah 51. It's a lot. All right, let's go back to it. The book. Well, let's name those seven kingdoms, man. It's Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, and Great Britain. That's Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, and Great Britain, man. Right? Those are those seven heads, man. Right? It says what? And back to Revelation chapter 12, verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having seven heads, right? Those seven, right? And 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head, right? What? The 10 horns represent the European Union, right? The original European Union, which is Germany, France, Italy, Poland, Sweden, Netherlands, Romania, Greece, and Ireland, right? Germany, France, Italy, Poland, Sweden, Spain, Netherlands, Ireland, right? The original EU. If you look up the EU now, they've added many more nations to it, but the original EU is the 10 horns, man. Right? Those are the 10, right? All right, let's get back to it. Revelation chapter 12, verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 7 crowns upon it, and his head of the star to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered for to devour her child as she's born. Right? So it says what? The third part of the star. Right? The third part went into 3 stars, man, which is what? The southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the Jews, so to speak, man. Right? Let's get that. It's the book of Ezra. Right, the book of Ezra, chapter 1, and verse 5. Well, I start at 4. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with gold and with goods and with beasts, besides the free will offering of the house of Yahweh that is in Jerusalem. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests and the Levites. When they separate the difference between the priests and the Levites are only that the Aaronites, man, the sons of Aaron, right? Are still Levites as well, but they had their own lot that they had to live in, man. Right, as far as like things they had to do in their priesthood. And the Levites, with all them whose spirit of Yahweh had raised to go up and build the house of Yahweh, which is in Jerusalem, man. Right? So those are the 3 stars, the Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Right? Let's get another precept. Yeah. Get another precept. The book, Chronicles, chapter 11 and verse 11. And he fortified the strongholds and put captains in them, and stored victuals and of the oil and the wine. This is going into the priests going into the separation with the Levites, man. Right? And several cities he And he made them exceeding strong, having Judah and Benjamin on his side. And the priests and the Levites that were in Israel resorted to him out of all their coasts. For the Levites left their suburbs and their possessions and came to Judah and Jerusalem. And Jeroboam and his son had cast them off from executing the priest's office unto Yahweh, man. Right? So Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they are the Jews. They are those three stars, those third stars that was cast down, man. Right? That he brought to captivity, man. Right? It says what? Go back. And his tail drew the third part of the stars, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the three tribes, and cast them to earth, right? I mean, he put them into captivity, subjection, put them low. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered to devour her child as soon as it be born. And that's going into Herod, the Roman, which is that great red dragon, right? It's going into Herod, waiting to devour Yahweh Shai, man, when he was born, right? Let's get a precept. Book 2 and verse 12, and be warned of Yahweh. Let me see. And being warned of Yahweh in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. And when they departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him, man. Right? So what? Herod was waiting to destroy Yahweh Shai, man. Right? He was waiting to destroy that child as soon as he be born, right? And he is what? A Roman, man, a Edomite. He is of the great red dragon, man. Right? Let's just read it again. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Right? So we know who this man child is. Right? How we know it's talking about Yahweh Shai. Who's supposed to rule all nations with a rod of iron? Right? Yahweh Shai, man. Right? And her child was caught up unto Yahweh and to his throne, right? It says it's to rule all nations with a rod of iron, man, right? See the precept. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 14. Well, let's start at 13. I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like unto the Son of Man, Yahweh Shai, came with the clouds, the chariots of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, man. Right? When it tells you in the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 5, and brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations. Daniel already prophesied that Yahweh was going, man, right? With the book of Revelation. Right. Chapter 2 and verse 25, verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power of the nations. This is Yahweh Shai speaking, right? And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter, they shall be broken to shivers, even as I've received of my Father. Even as I received of my Father. So Yahweh Shai received the power to rule over all the nations with a rod of iron, man. Right? So when it says here, Revelation chapter 12, and verse 5, brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations Shalakia. Satan still the word, man. Right? Who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was called up, unto Yahweh, unto his throne. So it said her child was called up unto his throne, right? See the precept on that. It's the book. It's on the Acts, the book of Acts, right? It's the book of Acts, chapter 1, and verse 9. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up. Well, I'm gonna go up so you know who he's talking about, man. Right? I'm gonna start at 6. And when they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the time or the seasons which the Father hath put in my power, but ye shall receive power after that. The Holy Ghost is come upon you, and ye shall be witness unto both me in Jerusalem and all Judea and in Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And when he had spoken these things, while he yet beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. So he was taken up in a cloud, man. He was called up, right? Just like how Elijah was called up, right? He was called up, man, right? Let's read it again. And she brought forth a man child, Yahushua, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. We already established through the prophecy in the book of Daniel, as well as in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, that Yahushua was prophesied to rule all nations. And in chapter 2, it tells you with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto Yahweh and to his throne. And we just went through Acts chapter 1 and verse 9 to show you that he was called up, man, to Yahweh through a throne, man. Right? Verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,203 days, man. Right? Which is just that 1,260 days, that time times and time and a half, man. The 3.5 years, 3.5 days, right? But what it says, she fled into the wilderness. Well, we established already that this woman is Israel, man, right? And the wilderness is just us being here in America, right? Because America is a wilderness, man. It's a dry and thirsty land, man. It's a drought in America, man, right? The precept. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 58 and verse 11. And the Lord shall guide thee continually and satisfy thy soul and make fat thy bones, that a watered garden, and like a spring of water whose water fails not, man. What the Lord feed us in a drought, man. But we understand that in America, it's a drought. There's no waters here, man. Right? Understand that the living waters. Book of John, chapter 7 and 38. And he that believeth on me, the scripture has said, out of his belly rivers of living water. Right? So that living water is what? Nope. The book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse 26, that he might sanctify thee and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word. So is the word of Yahweh, right? That's the waters, the words of Yahweh. But what America, there's no water. Waters. When your kids go to school, they're not being taught thus saith the Lord. When they cut on the TV, they're not being taught thus saith the Lord, right? They're being taught Cardi B the Stallion. They're being taught his story. They want your kids to learn. They kind of taking out slavery, telling your kids that KKK wasn't bad, right? These are not the ways of the Most High, man. They're not teaching you the ordinances. They're not teaching you Israel. They're not teaching you got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God, man. They're not giving you the living water. So this is dry and thirsty land, man. Right? It's the book of Psalms. It's the book of Psalms. Chapter 63 and verse 1. O God, thou art my God, early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is, man. There's no water here, right? This is a dry and thirsty land. This is the wilderness, right? We've been fled unto here. And the Lord is nourishing certain brothers in this time with the word of the Most High God, man, to give us understanding back to who we are, that we may go out and teach our brethren and our sisters, man, right? That they may be fed in these last days, man, right? The book, right? Another precept on these waters, man, how it's dry, how there's no water here, man, right? It's the book of Sirach, chapter 15 and verse 3. With the bread of understanding shall she feed him and give him the water of wisdom to drink. See that? The water of wisdom to drink, man, right? There is no water of wisdom to be drunk in here, right? In these last days, the Lord has given certain men the water of wisdom to go out and preach and teach the word. But until that point, there wasn't any water of wisdom you could find, man. You know, 30 years ago, you couldn't go out on the corners and kind of find an Israelite camp, man. There may have been a couple scarcely, but it was unlikely that if you weren't in certain cities, if you weren't in certain cities, you wouldn't find it, man. You wouldn't find the truth, you know. Let's get another precept. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 1 and verse 5. The word of Yahweh is the fountain of wisdom. Ways are everlasting commandments, man. So the word of the Most High is the fountain of wisdom. This is a dry and thirsty land. You don't find the words of the Most High here, man. This is a wilderness, right? There is no understanding here, man. There's nothing. You're not gonna go out to the schools or to the churches and hear that you got to keep the commandments, man. You're not gonna go out to the schools or the churches and learn that you got to keep the commandments. They're not gonna teach you to walk uprightly, right? They're not gonna teach women how to be women of the Most High. They're not gonna teach men how to be men of the Most High, right? They're gonna teach you how to be damn devils, man. That's what they're gonna teach you, right? So it's a dry and thirsty land. It's a wilderness, man, right? It's the book of Sirach. Chapter 47 and verse 14. How wise was thou in thy youth, and as a flood filled with understanding. With a flood, man. Like waters, right? So these waters, without the waters being here, without the living waters being here in this land, it's a wilderness. It's a dry and thirsty land, man. Right? So Israel fled into the wilderness. We fled the captivity of we fled into the wilderness, into captivity, man, right? For a time, right? And that 1,203 score days is 1,260 days. It's not a literal 1,260 days. It's just for a certain amount of time, man, right? That 3.5 years are those 42 months, right? Time times and a time and a half, man, right? That's spoken of in the book of Daniel. Like it. All right. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 6. And the woman Israel fled into the wilderness, here Babylon the whore, or aka America, was a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,203 score days. right? And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought with his angels, right? So there's a war in heaven. It's not talking about the third heaven, the damn firmament, damn Satan up there kind of fighting, right? It's talking about in the skies, which is also, above the firmament. It's talking about the third heaven is above the firmament. And above the firmament is water, and above that you have the actual third heaven where Yahweh sits, man. It's not talking about it up there, man. It's just talking about in the actual skies, man, right? That's all it's going into. And what it's going into is Yahweh Shai, Michael the Archangel, and the other angels fighting against these other nations, man, right? It's the book, Revelation chapter 19. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, armies gathered together to make war against that sat on the horse. And the beast, which is the other nation, which is the others outside of Babylon, right, are going to make war with Yahweh Shai and his army, man, right? They're going to fight and make war, right? It's already prophesied, man. It's the book. 1 second, Ezra. It's the book. 2nd Ezra. It's a lot here. Chapter 13. Verse. We'll start at verse 5. And after this I beheld, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. That's talking about Yahweh Shai, man, flying upon a chariot, man, right? And it's likened unto a mountain because of how big it will be, man. A damn fathership, man. But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they that which gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet they durst fight. So they're gonna be afraid to fight, but they still gonna fight, man. Why? Because the Lord is gonna harden their heart the same way he hardened Pharaoh's heart through his folly and madness. Is the same harden the heart to fight as well, man. Right? And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet they durst fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only saw that he sent as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they were all mixed together. Blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid, man. Right? Straight like that, man. So wait, yeah, Michael, Yahweh Shai, Michael, and the other angels, they're gonna fight with these heathens, man. And the heathen gonna be afraid, and they gonna still fight, and they gonna be destroyed, man. And they gonna be destroyed. They ain't gonna make it, man. Right? All right. Verse 8. And prevailed not. Hey, well, kind of just covered that, man. They prevailed not. Neither was there found anymore in heaven, man. Right? So what? They're gonna be cast down out of their highest state. They won't be found in their highest state anymore. Right? They'll be cast out of heaven, man. Right? They ain't talking about physical heaven. They ain't talking about, with a most high city. They're being cast out of there, like that story in Christianity when they tell you that Satan was cast out of heaven. That's not what it's going into, man. Right? It's not what it's going into. They're just gonna be cast out of their estate. They're gonna be brought down to hell, man. Right? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 34 and verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, which is Edom, man, and upon the people of my curse to judgment, man. So that sword, what is going to be bathed in heaven, man? It's not talking about he's literally going to take a bath inside the third heaven. It's not what it's going into, man. Right? Book of Isaiah, chapter 14. In verse 15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look and consider thee, saying, is the earth to tremble that did shake the kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed city, that but not the house of prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, like glory, even one in the house, in one, even one shall like everyone in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave, abominable brand, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass is trodden under feet, man. Trodden under feet. So yeah, man, they're gonna be brought down. They're gonna be brought to hell. We understand that hell is just a lower state. It's not going into, actually being under the damn ground, the devil poking you with a pitchfork. It's talking about just a lower state. Right? They were cast out of heaven. Right? They ain't found a place. They didn't have a higher state anymore, man. They were brought down to hell. After they were beaten and defeated, they were brought down to hell. They no longer had the understanding. Their wisdom is confounded. Everything that they've had is going to be confounded, and they're going to be brought, man. That's what's going into, man. Right? And that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Right? That great red dragon, once again, we've already established, is Esau, the so-called white man. Right? And his angels are just a people of his confederacy. Everybody that was aligned with him, man. Right? They're all going to be cast out and be brought low. Right? And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation. Right now. So look, you're not saved yet. Now is come salvation, and the strength and the kingdom of our power, and the power of his Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before Yahweh day and night, man. Right? And who's the accuser of the brethren? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 50 and verse 19. Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. Thou slanderest thy own mother's son. Right? Did not Esau and Jacob have the same mother? Right? So who slandered their mother's son, man? Esau, the so-called white man. Right? Because they have the same mother. Right? The book of Psalms, chapter 55. Verse 21, the words of his mouth are smoother than butter, but war is in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords, man. Right? That's the so-called white man, right? A deceiver, right? Come with smooth words, but he really has drawn swords, man. He's really seeking to put you to death. Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 16. For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause something to fall, man. Right? That's Esau, man, the accuser of the brethren. He accused us day and night, right? He has done nothing but conceive mischief and cause our people to continually fall, man. Right? Through his witchcraft, through everything he's done, man. It's been to what? To cause our people to fall in these last days, man. From the beginning of time, really, not just the last days, from the beginning of time, man. Right? All right, reading on. Verse 11. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death, man. Right? So what? These righteous men, these men of the Lord, right? They loved not their lives unto death, and they overcame the accuser of the brethren by the blood of the Lamb, right? And they loved not their lives unto death, man. Right? Let's get the book That's why we tell brothers, man, you gotta not love your life, man. You gotta hate it here, man, unto death, man. Right? Unless you'll be caught up trying to save something here. You're gonna be kind of looking back like Lot's wife, man. Right? It's the book of Sirach, chapter 4 and verse 28. Strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee, man. So you gotta love not your life and strive for the truth unto death, man. Right? The book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 10. Fear none of these things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life, man. Right? So you got to be faithful unto death. Like these brethren that are prophesied in here, man. Right? They love not their lives unto death. You got to be faithful unto death, and the Most High will give you a crown of life, man. Right? Straight like that. Right? Verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe is the inhabitants of the earth, of the sea. Shalakia. Right? Shalak. Verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of earth and of the sea. The devil is come unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time, man. Right? Because hey, he coming with wrath, man, because he know he only have a short time. So-called white man know he only got a short time. He's in the midst of being cast out, man. The book of Job, chapter 20 and verse 5. That the triumphant of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment, man. Right? He got a short time, and his joy is only for a moment, man. Right? It's the book of Job, chapter 24 and verse 23. Though it be given him to be in safety, whereon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways, man. Right? They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the ways, all as they are taken out of the way as all other. They are cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. Right? So what, man? They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way and taken out of the way as of all other, and cut off as the top of corn, man. So they only have a little while, man. Right? So he's coming with great wrath because he only has a short time, man. Verse 13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child, man. That's going into Jacob's trouble, man. Right? Once he sees that he don't have the power that he used to have anymore, man, he's gonna go crazy, man. And he's gonna want to kill Jake, man. He don't want Jake to receive salvation, man. Right? It's the book of Jeremiah. Chapter 30 and verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that is none like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, man. So we'll be saved out of that thing, Lord willing, man. We are of that number. We'll be saved out of that thing, man. Right? The book of Psalms. Chapter 37 and verse 14. And it reads, the wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy and to slay such as be of upright conversation, man. Right? So that's what you speak in upright conversation, the testimony of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. The wicked have drawn out his sword to slay you, man. Right? That's coming, man. Right? That's why it says what? They love not their lives unto death. So you gotta love not your life unto death, man. Right? Verse 14. And the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and a half a time from the face of the serpent, man. That's going into that 1260 days, man. Right? And it says what? It's not talking about literally flying, man. Eagle's wings just means you're escaping, man. That's all it means, man. Right? The book of Psalms. The book of Psalms 55 and verse 6. And I said, oh, that I had wings like a dove, for then would I fly away and be, man. Right? Hey, so I could get away and be at rest. That's all it's talking about, man. Right? Those wings just going into you escaping again, man. So Psalms in verse 5. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not the rich? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. So it's just saying, hey, riches come and go, man. Right? They come and go. That's all it's saying. Does money really kind of grow wings and fly away? No, it just comes and goes, man. Right? There's nothing to it. It comes and goes. Right? It's the book 19 and verse 4. You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bear you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. Right? So those wings just represent us, getting away, man, escaping. Right? Nothing else. Verse 15. And the serpent cast out water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. Right? That's just the enemy coming in as a flood, man. It's just rushing in, man. Right? The book of Isaiah, chapter 59 and verse 19. And it says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Right? So when he comes in like a flood, when he rushes in like a flood, because a flood is something that you can't stop. Can't kind of hold your hand out there. It's a powerful force, man. He's going to come in like a flood. But it says what? The Lord will lift up a standard against him, man. Right? So he's going to come in like a flood, but for the elect of Israel, the Lord will lift up a standard against him, man. Right? He's not going to be able to stand a chance in that day. Right? Verse 16, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth, man. Right? And the earth is this truth. That's what helped the woman. That's what cast everything down, man. That's what cast down the lies for Israel, man. The truth, man. That's what cast everything down, right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 85 and verse 11. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven, man. So the earth is this truth, man, right? The law, statutes, commandments of the Most High God, this understanding to Israel, keeping the commandments, all these different things that we teach every single day, every single week is what saved the woman, man. Right? That's what saved the woman from the enemy like a flood. Because what? When you get this truth, you know how to abound in righteousness, man. And righteousness is what's going to be your deliverance, man. You being righteous, you having clean hands, right? Having on those unspotted garments, man. And you get these unspotted garments by what? This truth, man. And abiding in this truth, right? Verse 17, and the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandments of Yahweh and the testimony of Yahweh. Right? The dragon was wroth with the woman, man, was wroth with Israel. They can't stand Israel. They keeping the damn commandments now. The Lord is returning back unto them. We got to get them up out of here, right? That's how they feeling. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 9 and verse 10. What's the testimony of Yahweh? And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh. Worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh is the spirit of prophecy, man. So what? If you have that spirit of prophecy, you have the testimony of Yahweh, man. Right? You have testimony of Yahweh. right? And they're going to kill anybody with the testimony of Yahweh Shai, or they're going to try to kill anybody with the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Kill a lot of people with the testimony of Yahweh Shai, man, right? The book of Job, chapter 15 and verse 21. A dreadful sound in his ears. In prosperity, the destroyer shall come upon him. He that believeth not, he shall return out of darkness, and he's waited for the sword, right? But it says a dreadful sound in his ears. In prosperity, the destroyer shall come upon him, man, right? The dreadful sound. What's the dreadful sound in the ears of the heathen, man? Of Esau, the so-called white man. It's literally Jake keeping the commandments, right? That's a dreadful sound, seeing us out there prophesying, us out there teaching our people, right? That puts a trembling fear on them, man, right? So with that, Lord willing, somebody was edified, man. Until next time, Shabbat Shalom to the 12 tribes. All praise to the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Shalom.